Hello guys, it's me Megalodon Productions, or for short MP, back with another video. This time it is a power scaling video on Legendary MechaGodzilla because this guy has become very underrated in terms of monsterverse inverse scaling, so I thought of making a rebunk video on him. He does not compare to Ghidorah and Shimo, but he's vastly above Kong and can be argued to be vastly superior to base Godzilla too. With all that said, let's get started. So, there are attempts people make to downplay MechaGodzilla like him, losing to King Kong with his charged battle axe, and this was a 50% power Kong. But there are issues with this argument, and it is honestly quite debunkable. First of all, before I start, Kong's axe did indeed hit MechaGodzilla's neck, as his neck is contained with 2 frontal dorsals, and Kong was shown to strike the same area. Also, a largely overlooked detail is the fact that Kong won because of Mecha's position. If there was enough distance, the outcome would have been very different. And let's remember that plot armor is what heavily carries Kong all the time. Also, not to mention, MechaGodzilla took 2 oil explosions straight to the neck, which significantly lowers the resistance of the metal. You can also see how MechaGodzilla's chest is glowing bright orange, which is a sign of overheating which progressively melts the metal, as both the oil explosions and overheating causes Mecha's neck to have very low amounts of resistance. This means that MechaGodzilla's durability wasn't bad, but rather King Kong's charged battle axe overheated his metallic armor. If it weren't for MechaGodzilla's position, then King Kong would have lost because MechaGodzilla can speed blitz him. Plus, the claim that King Kong physically overpowered MechaGodzilla is not true. 1. MechaGodzilla never gained his full acceleration while generating the punch, and he progressively was around 10 to 20% of progression, which lowers momentum and lowers the amount of force exerted in the punch as well, in the mech's favor with Kong's entire body weight to top it off, which makes it harder to get out of that scenario, which also makes it harder for the mech to actually maneuver his arm properly. 2. Kong got a hold of the middle joint of Mecha's arm that connects both the frontal and back parts of his arm, which doesn't generate as much force as it would with the frontal limb, such as his fists. 3. Also, this doesn't count as overpowering the mech, as some of you may proceed to use this argument to counter MechaGodzilla's physicality. Godzilla makes an attempt to stop MechaGodzilla's punch, but ultimately fails as MechaGodzilla gains his full acceleration while generating it, which causes Godzilla to push him away instead. MechaGodzilla's right arm alone can restrain and hold King Kong in a locking position to the point where he can't even move, and is pretty much in a stationary position to an extent where this causes him to lose proper grip on MechaGodzilla's joints. Not to mention, MechaGodzilla wasn't taking Kong seriously. You know how MechaGodzilla can bruise Godzilla, but you don't see any on Kong from MechaGodzilla? That implies that MechaGodzilla wasn't taking him seriously? He can easily hurt Kong if he wanted to. Moreover, it was even outright confirmed Kong tried to kick MechaGodzilla's head off, but he failed badly and couldn't even dent him. Also, Josh Valentine literally poured liquid onto MechaGodzilla's control panel. This would have largely weakened the mech's AP and durability. Ignorance is at its peak. I will leave it at that. In addition, it was confirmed that MechaGodzilla can actually one-shot Kong very easily just by his tail drill. This once again shows MechaGodzilla is vastly superior to Kong. A one-shot gap in fiction is a 7.5 to 10 times difference, so that means Mecha is about 7.5 to 10 times more powerful than Kong, even with his battle axe. Also, some people somehow believe that MechaGodzilla couldn't harm Godzilla at all, or doesn't even scale to him at all, which is just objectively wrong. Both charge at each other with a tired and 50% G21, managing to actually push the mech somewhat of a mildly long distance, which counters Godzilla's momentum as it stuns and staggers his ability to continuously react to any further attacks. We saw MechaGodzilla fire his atomic breath on Godzilla's neck, and this left a major scar on his neck that would stick until post-GVK. a lot of people for some reason choose to ignore it and act like it didn't matter, which goes to show how biased and delusional they are. We can watch the fight, and it was obvious that MechaGodzilla was going to win. He was shown ragdolling Godzilla all across Hong Kong. In fact, we can see Godzilla get slower and slower as he is fighting MechaGodzilla. The whole excuse that Godzilla was weakened does not work. Godzilla was only 2 times weaker. A 2 times power gap is not that big of a power gap. But to Godzilla's credit, he was very tired, even more than he was weakened. So, if he was just 2 times weaker but still not as tired, then he could put up a much better fight. But in the end, I still have MechaGodzilla low diffing a tired 50% full power G21 and mid to high diffing a non-tired 50% G21. I will make a video going over this later, but G21 is at 80 to 90% full power at the beginning of GVK, and is 50% his full power in the Hong Kong fight and MechaGodzilla fight. He was more tired in his MechaGodzilla fight though, which would have impacted his performance. But even if he wasn't tired at all, he would have still lost regardless, even if the fight would have been closer. As for G21 from the beginning of the movie, that's a more interesting matchup.
A lot of the arguments made to debunk MechaGodzilla were, frankly speaking, quite horrible. But the rebunk arguments are a lot better, and I will be going over them. So with all that said, let's get started. MechaGodzilla, even while malfunctioned, proceeded to overpower King Kong with relative ease and completely restrained him to the point where he couldn't maneuver properly, and being malfunctioned causes a significant hindrance in your overall capabilities. Also, you can't ignore the fact that MechaGodzilla can physically move and throw Godzilla hundreds of feet, if not thousands, with just one arm. At the barest minimum, you can argue MechaGodzilla and Godzilla equals. This is not really that inconsistent. But surprisingly, you can even get MechaGodzilla to be far above the real Godzilla, even by a huge bit. We know that MechaGodzilla would most likely beat base Godzilla. It was outright confirmed he was an upgraded version of the real Godzilla numerous times.
It's not only Godzilla's equal, but he's superior. It's time to show the world what you can do.
This alone should be enough to confirm he is above the real Godzilla, and that's not even contradicted whatsoever, and is quite consistent by feats alone. The narrative consistently implies MechaGodzilla is above the real Godzilla, so this cannot just be ignored. There is also a scan that says MechaGodzilla is a lot more powerful than Godzilla, and that they're not really relative in power.
The fight ends up being a bit more one-sided, and we kind of ended up just going in the direction of MechaGodzilla's really designed to kick Godzilla's ass, and he's able to really do some pretty amazing stuff once he's fully charged. But originally, that fight had a lot more back and forth.
Mechagodzilla was really created to foresee everything that Godzilla was going to do and do it better. And so really the first act of that entire fight scene before Kong joins in, it's really just showing how Mechagodzilla has been created to be superior to Godzilla in every way.
Also, those scans that supposedly said that if Godzilla was at full power, he would win are all unusable. They're more so subjective than objective. Adam said he thinks Mechagodzilla wouldn't win. Again, thinks. So that's just an opinion, not something objective. And again, it gets contradicted by the rest of the statements that say Mechagodzilla is above the real Godzilla, so they all go down the drain, sadly. By the way, as I said before, it was implied Mechagodzilla can one-shot King Kong with a drill to the face, so at bare minimum, Mechagodzilla is already 10 times more powerful than King Kong. And trust me, the power gap doesn't even close at all, it just gets bigger. Also, it was stated that Weakened G21 is above Weakened Kong, so you cannot get Weakened King Kong above Mechagodzilla when that is against what's confirmed. So we can safely establish that Mechagodzilla would be capable of beating a full-powered Godzilla with high to extreme difficulty. But that's if we lowball Mechagodzilla. In fact, we can get him to be at comparable levels to base-evolved Godzilla, so you can even argue that Mechagodzilla would mid-diff a full-powered Godzilla. The Beast Glove is verbatim stated Mechatech. Adam implies to a heavy degree that Monarch took everything left of Mechagodzilla and further conceptualized it into the glove. If you're one of those people that says, oh, just because we see Mechagodzilla systems doesn't mean they established relevant things, well, yeah, the whole point of the glove is literally used as a drug in order to make Kong's punches even stronger. Then they were initially ESP, considering how we see, whenever he punches, we quite literally see Mechagodzilla's systems activate, and we clearly know this same energy supply is also used to make Mecha's punches stronger. Then any basic punch in the relevancy of the glove is literally in reference to it combating other opponents, so they did establish relevant things. Sure, the coloring of the Beast Glove resembles that of other MULE designs, but that's just a stupid way to interpret things. It's clearly just concept art, and even too much mule tech would just make the glove feel unsubstantial or weak, which clearly implies many other diff parts are being used here, such as, of course, Apex Tech. Also, just because Adam says somewhat insinuated doesn't limit the claim of the Beast Glove actually being Apex Tech. It's clearly just him giving outright validity to the novel in this regard. And if we again go off of that same novel, they just make it even more blatant that it's Mechatech Titan-size mech, taking everything left of Mechagodzilla. Beast Glove, as I've already established in my previous args, is just blatant Mechatech via Adam, novels, etc., etc. Titan-sized mech Monarch took everything left of the mech to make the glove as well, so yay. Adam also references that the mule is for the engines as a part of the spaceship that was used to transport the Beast Glove as well. It's all in there, meaning everything he's ever included are literally in reference to what's conveyed as mule tech, which again, he literally talks about the engines. Notice how they pair it up with spare parts of the mule spaceship, and Adam then goes on by substantially addressing those spare parts, which again are the engines. Also, the term they in this context is pretty vague as well. Yes, when you're someone that tends to argue that the entirety of the spaceship actually transformed into the glove, the term they clearly means more than one. So unless you just want to tell me they used more than one spaceship, therefore there should just be more than one Beast Glove, it's logically referring to just said parts. Mechagodzilla would most likely be more durable than the Beast Glove, given his metal is thicker. It was also confirmed that the Beast Glove is an incomplete prototype, meaning that it further proves Mechagodzilla is indeed more durable. And let's remember that same Beast Glove took evolved Godzilla's atomic breath unscathed, and again, it's less durable than Mechagodzilla. This means that Mechagodzilla would actually be able to survive base evolved Godzilla's atomic breath, as well as be able to actually put up a good fight. That would also mean he would have similar atomic breath power too. To further back up Mechagodzilla's relativity to base evolved Godzilla, it was confirmed Mechagodzilla can one-shot a 50% entire G21 just by his tail drill, and in fiction a one-shot gap is a 7.5 to 10 times difference. So this means he would be 8 times more powerful than the 50% G21 and 4 times more powerful than a base Godzilla. Moreover, he could have actually one-shotted that same 50% Godzilla if he kept on going. He already left a huge scar, and he seemed to be holding back. Who knows what could have happened if he kept on firing the beam? Standard evolved Godzilla would also be 4 times more powerful than Mechagodzilla because he is a supercharge stacked on top of a supercharge. This means Mecha and base evolved are equal, and you can argue for both sides. By the way, it can easily be seen that MechaGodzilla's atomic breath is 4 to 5 times faster than Godzilla's atomic breath. Here is a statement and calculation regarding this. So in terms of inverse, he is at bare minimum equal or slightly above a full-powered base Godzilla, but at maximum he is about 4 times more powerful than base Godzilla and is equal to base evolved Godzilla due to being able to tank his atomic breath and likely having similar AP. Also, there are some things I forgot to include and want to repeat, so let's get right to them. 50% Godzilla wasn't stronger than MechaGodzilla. The reason why it looks like it is the fact that as both are charging, Godzilla decides to stop and then rapidly accelerate, as well as using his smaller size to get under MG to ram him. MG was only using his travel speed here, so he was at a disadvantage. If you want an actual direct comparison, MG with a single arm stops a charging Godzilla dead in his tracks, and Godzilla simply gets restrained by MG every time he uses his arms to keep Godzilla at bay. All the King Kong above MechaGodzilla arguments are trash unless it's with the charged axe, which doesn't mean MG has weak piercing durability, because the charged axe is a combination of heat and piercing. The axe is also stronger than the atomic breath when it's charged, and it gets massively stronger whenever charged, as Scar King's crystal could withstand brief exposure to the spiral ray, superior to any other attack Godzilla uses, while the charged axe one shots it completely. MG has a lot of narratives of being above an FP Goji as well as Kong 2. We clearly see how amped the axe gets in GXK, as Scar King's crystal, the one he uses to control Shimo, can withstand a shot from the spiral ray, strongest attack Godzilla fires ever, while the charged axe, even when used by Suko, who is massively below Kong, straight up one-shots the crystal. This was when the axe was charged by a hollow earth portals, which all Titans can tank, and 30 of them, which are connected to the Earth's core, are all inferior to Godzilla's passive energy. The Muto Prime is only stated to shatter MG with her scream by Drew Johnson, and he says he is a terrible source. He says Arvid and Greg get information on the kaiju he doesn't, and Arvid has said the sonic roar wouldn't do anything to MG. Godzilla was extremely weakened from the sonic roar, especially considering that roar is designed to allow her to defeat Godzilla, his species, and Arvid says it's less effective on other Titans. I'm aware it's in regard to Ghidorah, but by pure logic, harmonics designed for Godzilla won't hit the same with MechaGodzilla. Also, you can read my friend's Rebunk on MechaGodzilla, because he made some really good points. So where would MechaGodzilla scale? Well, let's start off with low balls. I calculated Legendary Godzilla's atomic breath to be 1,732 ronitons, or dwarf star level, using low ends, and if we assume Legendary MechaGodzilla is equal to or slightly stronger, his atomic breath would be 1,732 to 2,165 ronitons, or dwarf star level. That means his durability would be 3 times his atomic breath too, so he is about dwarf star level, low-balling him. Now again, that's just assuming he is equal to Godzilla, but you can get him to be quite a bit higher. If we highball him, we can argue he is equal to regular evolved Godzilla, making him 4 times more powerful than the real Godzilla, So this would get his atomic breath to be 6,928 ronatons, or small star level. His durability would be 3 times greater than his AP. Now for high-end. I calculated Legendary Godzilla's atomic breath to be 7.2 Fo, or large star level using high ends, and if we assume Legendary MechaGodzilla is equal to or slightly stronger, his atomic breath would be 7.2 to 9 Fo, or large star level. That means his durability would be 3 times his atomic breath too, so he is about large star level low, balling him. Now again, that's just assuming he is equal to Godzilla, but you can get him to be quite a bit higher. If we highball him, we can argue he is equal to regular evolved Godzilla, making him 4 times more powerful than the real Godzilla. So this would get his atomic breath to be 28.8 or solar system level. His durability would be 3 times greater than his AP. So MechaGodzilla would mid-diff base Godzilla, since he can be argued to be 4 times more powerful, since he can one-shot a 50% Godzilla, and that means he would 50-50 evolve Godzilla. But the topic of evolved Godzilla versus MechaGodzilla can be saved for another video. So, in summary, MechaGodzilla is not fodder at all. He makes it to be very high in the MonsterVerse tier list, likely top 10. MechaGodzilla would one-shot full arsenal King Kong. The only reason King Kong won was because of MechaGodzilla's position. If it weren't for MechaGodzilla's position, then Kong would have lost horrifically with almost no difficulty. The only reason why Kong defeated MechaGodzilla was actually because of MechaGodzilla's position. Like, think about it. If the real Godzilla had a similar position to Mecha when he fought Kong, he would have lost too. I have MechaGodzilla below King Ghidorah and Shimo, but he is still far superior to base Godzilla, and the narrative makes it quite clear. It was heavily implied he is a one-shot gap above a 50% power Godzilla, which again means he can two-shot a full-powered Godzilla with mid-diff. In fiction, a one-shot gap is a 7.5 to 10 times difference. So this means he would be 8 times more powerful than the 50% G21 and 4 times more powerful than a 4 times base Godzilla. Moreover, he could have actually one-shotted that same 50% Godzilla if he kept on firing his atomic breath. He already left a huge scar, and he seemed to be holding back. Who knows what could have happened if he kept on firing the beam? However, as powerful as he is still quite a bit weaker than King Ghidorah and Shimo, even if he is decently stronger than Godzilla. King Ghidorah and Shimo can both go relative to supercharged forms of Godzilla, nuke-amped Godzilla, which King Ghidorah fought, and spiral-evolved Godzilla, which Shimo fought, and the supercharged forms of Godzilla were quite a lot more powerful than base, nuke-amped being 15 to 20 times base, and spiral-evolved being 20 times base. For comparison, MechaGodzilla is, as I established, only 4 times more powerful than base Godzilla, so he would still be 5 times weaker than King Ghidorah or Shimo. Though regardless, he is still already OP. Legendary Godzilla's atomic breath to be 1,732 ronatons or dwarf star level using low ends, and if we assume Legendary MechaGodzilla is equal to or slightly stronger, his atomic breath would be 1,732 to 2,165 ronatons or dwarf star level. That means his durability would be 3 times his atomic breath too, so he is about dwarf star level, low balling him. Now again, that's just assuming he is equal to Godzilla, but you can get him to be quite a bit higher. If we highball him, we can argue he is equal to regular evolved Godzilla, making him 4 times more powerful than the real Godzilla, so this would get his atomic breath to be 6,928 ronatons or small star level. His durability would be 3 times greater than his AP. Now for high ends. Legendary Godzilla's atomic breath to be 7.2 Fo or large star level using high ends. And if we assume Legendary MechaGodzilla is equal to or slightly stronger, his atomic breath would be 7.2 to 9 Fo or large star level. That means his durability would be 3 times his atomic breath too, so he is about large star level low balling him. Now again, that's just assuming he is equal to Godzilla, but you can get him to be quite a bit higher. If we highball him, We can argue he is equal to regular evolved Godzilla, making him 4 times more powerful than the real Godzilla. So this would get his atomic breath to be 28.8 or solar system level. His durability would be 3 times greater than his AP. So in summary, MechaGodzilla, while not as weak as people claim, is still fairly OP. Not Ghidorah or Shimo level, but still fairly high. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. I will be back with more power scaling content soon. I put effort into this video, so I would appreciate it if you liked and shared the video. With all that said, thanks for watching and have a good day, people. I promise I will be back to doing real-life topics soon. When I'm done with my break from the paleo community, I will be posting a video regarding the debate on Tyrannosaurus Rex versus Giganotosaurus, Carolini, and some other dinosaur videos too. Goodbye.
Se coma ese señora, se coma ese señor, se coma tu familia, que muere con dolor, se come un vídeo beta, con euroconector, se come un vegano, que sabe a coliflor.